Welcome to the Armani Talks YouTube channel. I'm your host, Armani Talks. In this channel, I'm covering communication skills in order to help you level up your way with words and become much more articulate. In today's episode, we're entering the world of social skills, and we're going to be talking about why it's smart to steer clear from arguments. The first thing that you want to understand is that anytime someone is giving you an advice, what they're really telling you to do is follow the speed limit. Because let's say you're a responsible parent and you tell your kid, hey, follow the speed limit. You're pretty much making the assumption that if it's 50 miles per hour, then they should drive within that range. Go down to 45 if you need to, go up to 55 if you need to, but don't go any higher than 55, okay? This is the safe range that you need to operate in. You're not necessarily expecting this guy to drive exactly at 50 miles per hour the entire time. That's just not realistic. And likewise, when someone gives you the advice that you should quit arguing so much, they're not necessarily saying, never get in another argument again, which may seem like a noble goal at first. Let's say you're an upcoming socially intelligent person to be. You're like, well, what's wrong with that? I actually don't want to ever get in another argument again, and this is the goal that I'm going to set for myself. Although this seems like a noble goal, in the real world, that's equivalent to saying drive exactly at 50 miles per hour the entire road trip. It's just not realistic. Because in the complex world of humans, there's going to be different scenarios that you're pulled into. Maybe whether it's with a sibling, a relationship, an interaction with a family member, where you, the socially intelligent person to be, suddenly finds yourself arguing. Is this wrong? Depends on the context. So think about it like that anytime you're approaching arguing. There's a certain range that we want to follow, and the range is, for the most part, we want to avoid arguments rather than we never want to get into another argument again. Now, with that being said, why is it smart to steer clear from arguments? One of the reasons why is because of ideas. And more importantly than that, what kind of ideas? Opinions. Whenever we're dealing with another person's opinion, we are not speaking to their present day self alone. We are predominantly speaking to their past self. And what I mean by this is that most of the opinions that we have is from our real world experience. Years and years and years worth of these experiences have led to a certain opinion. And when a person is facing an opinion that they completely disagree with, what happens is that they are making the mistake of thinking that that opinion was formed right here in front of this person. So let's say Jamie is a hardcore liberal and Matthew is a hardcore conservative. Matthew is speaking a few conservative opinions, and Jamie at this point is thinking, whoa, his opinion is something that I disagree with, and he must have formed this opinion right now, not from his 25 years of existence, but right now in front of me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my intellect, which is formed from my personal experiences, to rewire his opinion. But here's the thing. Matthew did not create his opinion right in front of Jamie. He's been creating it for years and years and years. But at this point, all he's doing is he's articulating it. No matter how noble Jamie's goal is to try to convince him otherwise of his opinion, Jamie's not going to be able to do that with simple logic at this point. No matter how much Jamie wants to, it's just not a noble goal. Therefore, Jamie and Matthew are now going to get into an argument. And here's the thing. This is one of the biggest ideas you want to get out of this YouTube video. An argument may seem like it lasts for only 15 minutes, but an argument can actually last for 15 hours. And what does that exactly mean? What this means is once Jamie and Matthew go back to minding their own business, both feel a tad bit offended. Both feel that they could have made a few more points that they didn't bring up during this argument. But here's the thing. They're going to see each other again tomorrow. So during their time apart, you know what they're doing? They're spending a whole bunch of time scheming up different intellectual points in order to convince the other person otherwise. 15 minutes has suddenly turned into 15 hours. And once they come back, it's the same mistake happening once again, because both of these people do not understand that opinions are formed from someone's past predominantly. And this is one of the main reasons that getting into arguments is a waste of time, no matter how logical you think your point is because the person that you are getting into an argument with is speaking from their past experiences. And those past experiences are not just going to be rewired with the mere intellect. Oftentimes, people with critical thinking capabilities have their strength as their biggest weakness. Their intellect is their biggest strength, but their intellect causes them to get into a whole bunch of unnecessary arguments. An untamed intellect leads to an untamed ego, and an untamed ego leads to further arguments to be. So the smartest thing that a person can do is to find a different way to level up. This is the answer. Because I recall back in the days, I used to get into a whole bunch of arguments. I mean, if anyone was a little bit off of what I thought, I was like, all right, now is the perfect time to get into an argument. You know why I got into so many arguments? Because I had nothing else going on for myself. And when you have nothing else going on for yourself, taking the high road is one of the hardest things you can do. On the other hand, if you have a lot of things going on for yourself, taking that high road is pretty much something that's happening on autopilot. You're not even thinking about it. And when you are taking the high road, the person that you're possibly going to be getting into an argument with, at this point, you restrain yourself. You show emotional intelligence, and that emotional intelligence allows you to understand the other person's experience. Remember this, English is not the only kind of language out there. Most of the language that we are using is simply a means to an end. It's not the real end. The end is to communicate with human experiences, whether it's Japanese, English, French, Spanish, doesn't matter. Fall back and understand another person's experiences, and now you have understood every single language out there. Bottom line, and here's the recap for today's episode, you don't want to be getting into arguments too much, but then again, this is a general range. In the real world that we live in, it's very difficult to tell someone, never get into another argument again. Instead, for the general part, try to avoid it. The reason why is because the person that you are dealing with, the opinion that they have formulated is not from their present encounter with you. Instead, it's from years and years worth of experiences that led to this opinion. To get into less arguments, try leveling up in a part of your life. And I teach you how to level up in my book, The Level Up Mentality. You'll see it right behind me, which is currently available on Amazon, Gumroad, and Audible. I'll drop all the links in the description box, or you can go on ArmaniTalks.com. The more that you're leveling up, the easier it becomes to take the high road. The easier that it becomes to take the high road, the easier it becomes to fall back and speak another language, the other language of connecting to human experience. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure that you're subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe, hit that bell notification, and never miss another video again. I post every Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and I will see you on Wednesday. Thank you very much for joining the Armani Talks YouTube channel, and I will catch you on the next episode.